and that is the United States Senator, one of the two for the great state of Texas, and that is Ted Cruz. Senator Cruz, welcome back to the program.
Lars, great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Now, we'll get to Joe the Job Killer in just a moment, but if you don't mind, Senator Cruz, another member of the Congress, AOC, has accused you of trying to have her murdered. Now, I just thought we'd check on that. Did you try to have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez murdered, Senator?
I got to say, we're in crazy times. No, I haven't tried to have anyone murdered, at least not since the 1960s when people say I was the Zodiac Killer. That was the last time I may or may not have tried to have anyone murdered. But look, the Democrats, the hard left, they're angry and they're lashing out. And it is – there's a lot of rage on their side. It's not good for the country. It's not good for where we need to be going, but it reflects who they are and where they are.
Well, Senator, what does that say about them? They've got the White House. They've got the House by a slim majority. They've got the Senate by a bare majority. They're in charge at this point. What do they have to be outraged about?
It is a very good question, and you're right. They have right now all of the levers of power in the federal government. But, the last 4 years the Democratic Party changed. In the last 4 years the media changed. They have defined their identity, who they are, what they believe, what they stand for, around one central theme, which is hatred for Donald J. Trump. That is the reason for existence of today's Democratic Party. It's why, you think about it, Joe Biden has wanted to get elected president since he was 2 years old. He's run over and over and over again. He finally won. He has a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate. And what's the very first thing they want to do? Impeach Donald Trump, who's no longer president, who's out of the White House. But they are so driven by hatred that that's their number one priority. I think we ought to actually be getting to work to address the crises our country is facing right now. We've got a global pandemic we're dealing with. We've got tens of millions of Americans out of work. And rather than expressing their cathartic rage at Trump, we ought to be rolling up our sleeves and getting to work.
Well, instead, you've called Joe Biden, the president, you've called him Joe the Job Killer. Now, I want you to, I've said similar things, not as clever as Joe the Job Killer, but even the media is going to bat for him on this, saying, no, he's really not killing jobs. Or John Kerry, who flies around in his own private jet as climate chief, has said, well, they can just find jobs making solar panels. I assume those jobs will be somewhere in Beijing because most of the solar panels are made in China. But they're killing jobs right and left. And that doesn't seem to be putting people to work.
Well, Lars, that's exactly right. And it reflects what I think is the most important political shift that has played out in the last decade, which is a socioeconomic shift. Conventional wisdom used to be that Republicans are the party of the rich and Democrats are the party of the poor. That has flipped on its head. Today's Democratic Party is the party of rich coastal elites. They are the party of big tech. They're the party of Wall Street. They're the party of Hollywood. Those are their donors. Those are who they care about. Those who are whose bidding they do. On the other hand, Republicans have become the party of working men and women, of blue-collar workers, of union members. You think back to when FDR was president. And the Democratic Party was really defined as the party of the Ohio steelworker. Well, today's Democratic Party has decided they don't care about union members. They don't care about jobs. They don't care about anyone with calluses on their hands that works for a living. And so we saw this with Barack Obama, and with Biden, it's really reached a culmination. The Democrats have made a decision that they care more about the donations from California environmentalist billionaires than they care about the jobs of blue-collar union members. So one of the first things Joe Biden does, signs an order suspending the Keystone Pipeline. With one stroke of a pen, he destroyed 11,000 jobs, including 8,000 union jobs. And the past 2 weeks, I've asked Biden's nominees over and over again, what do you say to the union guy working, building that pipeline, whose job Joe Biden just obliterated? And their answer over and over again is essentially, well, go jump in a lake. John Kerry said, we're going to teach him to, quote, make better choices. What arrogant condescension for for these plutocrats with their private planes to look down upon working men and women and say, we don't like the choices. You decided to go into manufacturing. You decided to go into construction, and we, the ennobled elites, are going to destroy your livelihood. I think it's really disgraceful what they're doing.
I'm talking to Texas Senator Ted Cruz. So, Senator, you and I have talked over the years. What do we do about it now when they have the levers of power at this point? And will the Republicans, conservatives and Republicans, they're two different groups, and I know you know that very well, will they do the things that are necessary? I've seen some bright lights, as in governors like Texas Governor Abbott, who's saying, we're going to sue. In the same way the Democrats sued to try to stop everything Trump did, governors are saying, conservative governors are saying, we'll go to court. These are illegal things that you are doing that damage Americans.
Well, there's the short term and then there's the long term. In the short term, we're going to have a tough couple of years. The Democrats control the White House. They control the House and the Senate. They're going to do a lot of damage. We're going to see a lot of bad executive orders, a lot of bad regulations. We're going to see a lot of bad legislation moving, and that is going to destroy a lot of jobs in this country. In the short term, we need to do everything we can to prevent that, and I am going to be leading the fight to stop bad policies that destroy jobs in America, that take away freedom in America, that undermine our security, that undermine our constitutional rights. In the long term, we need to make the case to the American people why these policies are so harmful. Here's the good news. Politics has a natural pendulum sense to it. It tends to go one direction, it goes too far, and then it goes back the other direction. The far left is driving the train right now. They are going to go too far. They're already doing it. They're going to be too extreme, and it's not going to work. That means 2022, I believe, is likely to be a very good election, and 2024 is likely to be a very good election. We need to make the case to the American people that common sense conservative ideas work, that free markets work, that socialism is a train wreck and it doesn't work. And I think if we win the hearts and minds of the American people as happy warriors, not the kind of angry, shrill, hysterical voices of rage on the left, but instead as happy warriors defending liberty, I think that's the path to pull the country back from the damage we're about to see over the next couple of years.
Senator Cruz, while we've got time, last issue. You've been one of the top critics of communist China because you see them, and I think correctly, as the biggest threat to this country. What is going to happen under a Joe Biden presidency when this president, I mean, we've seen it, is so very compromised by the activities of his family? Can we count on this president to actually do the right thing and stand up to China? And are we seeing any sign of that, or are we seeing the opposite already?
Well, unfortunately, we're seeing the opposite, and it's a very good question. I think communist China poses the greatest geopolitical threat to the United States for the next century. And just in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a pattern among Biden nominees of consistently embracing China, cozying up to China, getting in bed with China. So, for example, Tony Blinken, the new Secretary of State, was asked at his confirmation hearing, would he maintain the current China entities list of the sanctioned companies that have been used for human rights abuses? He refused to commit to that. Gina Raimondo has been nominated to be Commerce Secretary. I asked her, would she keep Huawei, which is the giant Chinese telecom company that's really an espionage company, would she keep Huawei on the list? She refused to commit to that.
Senator Cruz, I'm up against the clock, but that's the great senator from the great state of Texas, Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, it's always a pleasure. Glad to have you with us.